Hello. What the hell? Let's play it again. I don't care. Luckily, I like this song. Yes, I don't know what I'm doing. Get used to it. Well, hello. Hi. My name's Amanda. Welcome to the Tequila Hour, even though I'm not drinking tequila. And yeah, that may or may not have gone how I envisioned, but that doesn't matter because we are learning as we go along. Anyway, hello. To those who are watching, and I'm pretty sure that no one is. So that's fantastic, actually. For me, let me just see, because honestly, I don't think if anyone is watching or not, I don't think they are. So basically, that means I can do whatever I like because no one is watching. Anyway, let me see. I'm going to see. One is watching. No one's watching. No one is watching. So there you go. Hi. It is, well, let me start this podcast by saying that I actually attempted to commence this podcast what I thought was 2:00 Eastern Standard Time in Australia, and guess what? It wasn't. It was only 1:00 because for me once, fool me twice, whatever that saying is, that I forgot it was daylight saving, so there you go. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I did actually log on at the actual time as described, so here I am, and let's get into it. So, today's podcast is about really a catch up on the previous week's podcast. And if you may recall, or if you're one of the people who took the time to listen, sorry, I'm getting distracted by what I look like. Because I'm hot. No, that's weird. I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm going to applaud myself. I don't give a fuck. I'm going for it. That's what's happening. And I'm telling the world that I don't know what I'm doing. But it's my podcast, so I can do what I want. Anyway. Rode Procaster 2, get one. And I'm very excited. Yeah, and you're like, I don't give a shit. And I'm like, I do. Anywho, I'm getting distracted by my Rode Procaster 2. Disturbing. Anywho, let's go back to what the reason for my podcast today is. And it is to, not ruminate, but talk about the week that was. And it also is to give some feedback. And it's only been 1 week, so let's not get carried away. But you may recall in my last podcast, I talked about the high five habit, and that's a book that I stumbled across because I ended up watching a video, YouTube video that is, podcast from Steve, who is Diary of the CEO, and he interviewed Mel Robbins. And I, for whatever reason, and I can go into that, probably the reasons why that it um, struck a chord with me is the word that I'm trying to spit out. That, yeah, I was going to say intrigued, but that's probably the wrong word. I felt like after watching his podcast, I really enjoyed the podcast and I enjoyed what she had to say and the premise of the high five habit. But more to that is that very next day, I went out and purchased the book and I read it that afternoon. And I really wanted to give my thoughts and feelings about the premise of the high five habit and moving forward and what that looks for me. So, if you are interested in that topic, please continue to listen. If you're one of those amazing people who've taken the time to watch me live via YouTube, because I don't know who the fuck I am anymore. But now I am recording my podcast live. They are streaming via YouTube. And you will see that not only do I have makeup on, which compared to the last two podcasts, you're like, thank you, Amanda, for taking your time to look your best. But you also might be wondering what I have on my fresh today. On my fresh today, I have, and I'm just going to go behind me because, yeah, I'm going to share this with you. And for anyone who, enjoys makeup or loves makeup, I am wearing, and if you're watching this live, thank you, which no one is. I am wearing, and I'm just going to hold it up because, and now you can see my camera. Oh, you can see my room in the secret location. This is it. I'll try and put it down so you can see it. I am wearing Wayne Goss, who is not only a makeup artist, he's English. And this is, the packaging is glorious. The makeup is even more glorious. And I had to put this on my eyes today because it's amazing. And I love it. So that's number one. Number two is for foundation, which I didn't bring over with me, but I'm going to quickly talk about it because it's my podcast and I can do whatever I like. I'm wearing Chanel number one foundation. It's, again, sublime, may I say. It's beautiful. It's expensive. I can't remember how much it was. Maybe I'll tell you or pin a comment, all that kind of jazz, but it's really nice. I highly recommend it. And finally, which I'm holding in my hands, that, if you're watching this live, you can't see because it's below the camera, but I will hold it up for you. I'm wearing lipstick via by Give, the brand Give, which is Gwen Stefani's brand. I'm wearing also wearing a Lisa Eldridge, what do you call it, lip pencil, by the way. And to top it off, I'm wearing, which I should wear more because it feels very nice on my lips, thank you, is Huda, who can't speak, Huda Beauty Silk Balm. I'm trying to read it. Honey Balm, which is this. So if you're one of those people who are listening to this via your favorite streaming platform, mine being Spotify, you'd have no idea what I just did because you are only listening this via audio. But if you're one of those lucky people who watch this podcast or watch the rerun back, which you can do anytime via YouTube, you will see the glorious color that I have on my lips today. So there's that. And I just had a sip of my drink. And this is not an ASMR podcast. No, it's not. And not. Yes. Like I said, I'm not drinking tequila. I'm drinking vodka, Riker, which is a brand from Iceland. Shout out to Riker. Is Reyky. Obviously, I've drunk too much. It is Reyka Riker vodka, Iceland, filtered beautifully. Love it. Get some. All right. And no, I'm not drinking tequila. Get over it. Anyway, anywho, let's get to the subject. I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I'm pausing for dramatic effect. I don't know. I'm not. I'm just distracted by all the wonderful things that I have going on. So, like I said, going back and talking about the week that was, let's have a quick update. Number one, did I have a good week? Yeah, I did. I had actually a pretty good week. Well, actually, not even pretty good. It was good. I had a very productive week. I had a very busy week. You could say at times I had a very stressful week. When you're talking about the level of stress that I was enduring, it was in reference to work. Um, Most people would appreciate and understand that. I'm not going to go into it because it is what it is. What I'd like to go into, though, is the high five habit. And like I mentioned in my previous podcast, loved it, read the book, smashed it. And obviously, the next steps moving forward is following the practice that is the high five habit. So let's talk about it. So, when did I do the podcast? Did the podcast last Saturday live, got the book, read it, obviously before I did the podcast so I could talk about it. So I wasn't talking out of my ass. And then the very next day, did what was described in the book, which is the high five habit. What does that mean? So getting up in the morning, what that looked like is for me is got up, went to the loo, then stood in front of a mirror and high-fived myself. Now you'd be like, what do you mean, Amanda? Now, what I'm saying to you is the premise of the book is obviously there's a set of things, tasks, it's a list, whatever. Let's not get into semantics, but it is where, you get up, you make your bed. This is described in the book, so just read the book so you know what I'm talking about. So you get up, you go to the bathroom, you take the time to really, and let's go back a step. This is about taking time to look after yourself, to listen to yourself, maybe to even find yourself. And yeah, so for me, yes. And for many who might be listening to this podcast, that can be quite a daunting task because no one really, probably wants to look at themselves in the mirror and see themselves truly for who they are. But the premise of the high five habit is not to just look in the mirror and berate yourself on how you look like, but it is really to change the synapses or synapses. Is that the word? But to change your thought process in your mind from, its usual course where, as an example, you'd look in the mirror and you say, you're a fatty boomba. Or you can look in the mirror and just high five yourself and just, you are who you are. And guess what? You're fucking awesome. That's what the high five premise or idea or thought process is. So I'm going to say to you, and I'm probably going to I don't know what I'm saying, obviously. It is something where if I was to relay the week that was to you, the first thing being high-fiving yourself in the mirror. Let's talk about that. I'm going to say to you that I'm pretty sure the first 1 to 2 days, not that I struggled to do it, but I kinda did, because the reasoning for that is it made me feel very uncomfortable because I was standing in front of a mirror and trying to just I'm closing my eyes while I say this, for those of you not watching this live, is really look at yourself in the mirror and acknowledge yourself and then high five yourself. Now, what the idea around this is that when you do that, you're not thinking about anything else. You're just high fiving yourself. And it sounds fanciful, doesn't it, when you say it? But it is supposed to break those pathways that you have in your mind. And did it do that? Is probably what I'm trying to lead into. Yes. The short answer is yes. How did it do that? So it's one of those things where because you're looking yourself in the eyes, and that's the first thing for me, I found it not difficult, but like I really had to concentrate to shut out the bullshit that my mind likes to bring forth at any given time, or noise or sound or light, or all the rest of it, or all of the above. To shut all that out and just look at yourself in the mirror and just, breathe and try and be in some sort of relaxed state and just high five the mirror. It, for me, throughout the week, was it any easier? As I'm thinking out loud, no, it wasn't. It didn't become any easier. What it was is that it really was a practice where I had to concentrate on myself doing it. That's the one thing. But the second thing is that during the practice of high-fiving the mirror, it did silence my mind. Now, you'd be like, "What are you saying, Amanda?" What I'm trying to say to you is, if you're one of the people who, like myself, often think about numerous things, may that be what's happening at work, may that be what's happening in your life, may that be your family or your children or your husband, may that be all of it at the same time, which is really hard because you let's just think about that, is that, if you're someone who, and let's get real, it's about anxiety, really. If you're someone who is one of those people who ruminate on multiple things at any given time, to actually stop and then take the time to look in the mirror and just high five yourself is difficult. So I'm not going to say it was easy, because I really had to concentrate just to see myself. Really, that was the first thing that if I was to give you some sort of feedback about my experience throughout the week, is that I really had to take the time to just stand in front of the mirror, because I did this mainly in my bathroom mirror. I think there was 1 or 2 days where I did it in our bedroom, because our bedroom cupboards actually are mirrored cupboards, so where you can see your whole self. But in the bathroom, because of my height and where the bathroom mirror is, you can only see my head. um, so it really did take some time for me to, like, first of all, stand in front of the mirror and, like, fully stare at myself into my eyes and shut my mind. That was the first thing, because I really wanted to give it a go to see how I felt and what feelings I might have, etc. So that was the first thing. So that was it wasn't difficult. It was just strange because, like I said, at first it felt like I really had to concentrate extremely hard to even see myself, even though I could see my reflection. I know this sounds really weird, but I could see my reflection, of course. It's a fucking mirror. What I'm saying to you is it really took some time for me to look into my eyes, like I am right now, to look into the camera and really see myself. Like actually see myself and look into my eyes and acknowledge that it was me looking back in the mirror. Now that sounds strange, but Amanda, you're wacko. Perhaps I am. But what I'm saying to you is that was a good exercise for me because obviously I don't have an issue. I think I've talked about this in the last podcast. Obviously, we all look at ourselves in the mirror. May that be, a mirror that you pass by or a window or whatever you see reflection, or in the morning in the bathroom or your bedroom, wherever a mirror is. You're putting on your makeup, yada yada yada. All of the above. Are you truly looking into your soul? And that's what it felt like. Sounds extreme, but that's what it felt like. That you really had to shut off your mind and just look into your eyes and shut the fuck up, your mind and whatever else, and see yourself for who you are in your eyes. No judgment, no bullshit, no inner monologue, all of the above. So that was the first thing. Second thing, I purposely used my left hand to high five myself. And the reason why I did this is the premise of the high five habit. And one of what Mel Robbins talks about in her book is breaking that chain. So that mental synapse, I'm sure if I'm pronouncing that wrong, who cares? But synapses in your brain that condition to, react a certain way to certain things, and purposely used my non-dominant hand, which is my left hand because I'm right-handed, to high five to see what the difference was in reference to high fiving the mirror if I used my right hand. Now, let's go straight into it. The first thing, as like I mentioned, it was hard for me to concentrate just looking at myself to see myself. I could see myself in the reflection, but was I truly seeing myself? That was the first thing. The second thing I noticed over the week is that there was a clear difference I'm just going to have a sip of my drink, by the way. Yeah. There was a clear difference between high-fiving the mirror with my left hand and high-fiving the mirror with my right hand, or high-fiving the mirror with both hands, which I tried because I wanted to see what the effect physically and mentally was. So, tried it with my non-dominant hand, which was my left hand in the first instance. And I think that actually made my mind really go, "What?" It was kind of like the way I describe it, and this is all internal, okay? You can't visually see this shit. This is internal shit. The way I describe it is that my mind was really trying to work out what the fuck I was doing by using my left hand and high-fiving the mirror. It was like, "What are you doing?" Now, my instant first reaction was it brought a smile to my face. So if I talk about the feelings and thoughts that I had when I did this, it brought a smile to my face, which was weird. The second thing is I had a feeling in my chest. Now, it wasn't a bad feeling. It's more, how should I describe it? It's a sense of, if you're a person who, and not many people are this in tuned with themselves, but if you are one of those persons, that let's talk about, I know, pure joy. Okay. So, we've had most people in their life have had moments of pure joy. For me, I'm thinking about, if you see a baby or you see children or you hold a baby or smell a baby, that's probably just one example. Clean, pure, no bullshit, just pure joy. Okay. It's a good feeling and you feel it in your chest and it's happiness and it's joy. Now, I'm not saying I felt joy. What I'm saying to you is that I high five the mirror with my left hand, which is my non dominant hand, and I felt it physically in my chest. It wasn't a bad feeling. It was a slightly off putting feeling because clearly I was having a physical reaction to doing this. But at the same time, my mind was trying to, like, I was going to say fuck me over, but it wasn't trying to fuck me over. What it's trying to do is it's trying to, like, work out what the fuck I was doing. It's probably what it is. And so obviously it wasn't a bad feeling in any sense, but it was also like I was really trying to be conscious of what I was feeling physically as well as just mentally. So I think the next day when I did it, as in high five the mirror, I purposely then used my right hand. Now, it felt smoother is probably the word that comes to mind, but it felt more, if you want to say, normal or instinctive to use my right hand, probably because it's my normal dominant hand. It felt I had the same feeling. I don't know. I felt like that reason for smile, which is an automatic smile, was more prevalent when I used my right hand than my left hand. And I also realized as I did this throughout the week that was somehow able to concentrate better when I also then not only placed my hand on the mirror, but really took the time to look at my reflection and look at my hand and look back at myself. Because I suppose in a nutshell, it was not easy. What I'm trying to get at, it wasn't easy. It seems quite logical and quite simple in its pretext of just standing in front of a mirror and high-fiving yourself to acknowledge yourself. But what I'm saying to you, which obviously the lesson for me is, it wasn't easy. And what I'm getting at is, even though I could see my reflection, I really had to take some time to, in my mind, acknowledge my reflection. Now, straight away, that disturbs me because I'm like, yeah, you can see yourself in the mirror, hello. But what I suppose it is good practice and good practice moving forward, and that I'll get to that, is that it alerted to me to the fact that I don't really see myself and I don't acknowledge myself. That's the first lesson out of this one this 1 week. Number 2, as part of the high five habit, is a diary. So in the book, it talks about you can download, like a journal. It's not a diary or journal, or however you want to describe it, that every morning, not only do you wake up and you get up and, you make your bed, you do the high five habit, but you also take the time to do a sequence of events. Now, those events are: 1, taking the time to settle yourself. And what that looks like is, now this could be done in bed, or I ended up doing it in front of my mirror in my studio room so I could see myself, is putting your hand on your heart and saying, I am safe, I am okay, I am loved. Now, it was strange because now you can say it, it's not hard to say, but what I'm saying to you is, the one thing I noticed from that is that even though I did it, and I ended up putting my right hand on my heart, and then I ended up for the rest of the week actually putting my right hand, then my left hand over my right hand on my heart and saying it as I looked in the mirror. Is for me, what I got from that is that I noticed physically that as soon as I said, "I'm loved," that I struggled with that. Now, I didn't struggle saying it. What I'm saying to you is I instantly shuffled. Now, if you want to talk about body cues or body reactions or whatever, and it happened every day. It didn't happen the first day, it happened every day. And it got to the point where I would do this particular, it's not even, if you can call it a mantra if you want to call it that, but as a sequence of events, I did this every morning. And every time I said, "I'm loved," I shuffled. The other thing that I noticed, and what I'm saying to you is I was sitting there because I did some deep breathing first to kind of center myself. So anyone who's done that should know what I'm talking about. Not like meditation, but very similar in the sense of breathing in and out just to, calm yourself and center yourself. What I'm saying though is that I would say, "I'm saved, I'm safe, I'm okay, I'm loved," and I would shuffle my feet when I've said, "I'm loved." Now, I did that every time. So, what that's saying to me is I don't believe that, which is pretty sad. I know I am, but the purpose of this exercise is to really realize maybe your shortfalls or maybe the feelings that you have around that you feel that you are loved, or you have a sense of you are loving yourself or comfortable with yourself. So that's probably the I don't know, the acknowledgement out of I got out of that exercise is that, and I'm still every day acknowledging that for whatever reason that it sparks a reaction physically to me. So that's another thing. Moving on. The next thing is, as part of the daily journal, if you want to call it that, the High Five Habit Daily Journal is, which I'll go back a step. You can actually download the journal off the website, which the book encourages you to do. You can actually download this stuff for free. You can also buy the journal, via Amazon, etc. If you want to do that. It probably will be something that I do in the future, but for now, you don't feel like you have to rush out and buy the book, even that, or rush out and buy the journal. It's more about, the book does at least refer you to a website that you can download this kind of information for free, which is very clever, by the way, Mel Robbins. But, don't feel like you've got to rush out and spend your bloody money on a journal when you don't have to, is what I'm trying to get at. So I printed a shitload of these, 2-page documents off so I could do it for this experiment and moving forward, because you know, there comes a point where I know personally you can easily get sucked into this kind of, I was going to say shit, it's not shit. You can get sucked into these kind of self-help things and then, spend shit ton of money and then you don't continue with them. So there's that. So like I mentioned, you do the deep breathing exercise. You do that particular, if you want to call it a mantra. You've done the high five to yourself in your mirror, whether that be in your bathroom, etc. And then you write down, there's a section where you write down the day ahead. Now, what it talks about is write down all the shit you need to remember, write down the shit that you keep thinking about, write down any or draw any doodles that you might be thinking about, or etc. Now, you may have God. You may hear some music in the background. That's my husband playing music, so please excuse me. But Yeah, and it's really distracting. Sounds very distracting. It's kind of distracting. It's kind of like what? No, no, it's okay. Anywho, yes, you write down for the day anything you want to remember throughout the day. I think it's more like a mind dump, is probably the best way to describe it, where instead of ruminating on all the shit that you're trying to remember or you're worrying about or you need to remind yourself about or etc. and all of the above, just mind dump it in your journal. So that was yeah, I felt very comfortable doing that. I sometimes when I was writing down what I had to remember for the day or just random thoughts and shit like that, I think there was one particular day where I'm like, I'm trying to really think about what I need to write down. But for most part, it was quite easy to do that. Like, I was just like, "Bleh, here you go." And I just write it down. So I didn't have any trouble with that. May it be, writing about what the day ahead was for me in regards to work, writing about things that I was thinking about, writing things about what I had to remember. I think in some of my journals for the week, I drew little pictures and little doodles because for whatever reason, what I was trying to do is like if something came into my mind, a thought, I just went with it. So there was that, which was actually quite enjoyable. I enjoyed doing that. And then the second page was about writing things that you wanted to do in your life. So, and I'm trying to, I should have had a copy of it in front of me, which would have helped. But, you know, writing down 5 things that you want to do. So, may they be big things or small things, basically goals and aspirations you wanted to achieve in your life or stuff that you wanted to do, etc. So for me, that was actually quite refreshing just to write it down, like stuff that I wanted to do in my life. And the last section was what you would what you need to do to achieve those goals, basically. So for me, one of my goals is to go to Japan next year. And then in the next section was how am I going to achieve that goal? So obviously for me, I need to save money. Obviously, I need to look at how I'm going to get to Japan. I need to like plan for it, what that looks like, etc. So yeah, for me, it was instead of how can I go back a step? Instead of just having these dreams and aspirations in your mind and going, oh, I'd really like to go to Japan one day and the reasons why, yada. What this is actually forcing you to do is not just dream about it or daydream about it. What it's really saying to you is that you've got to like not only acknowledge the goal or the dream, but if it really is something you want to do, then you've got to make it happen. That's simple. It sounds very simple when I'm saying it out loud. And, you know, again, the premise seems very simple, but for myself, and I would probably say to you, for the majority of people who listen to this, it's not easy. We all have our dreams and aspirations to do certain things or to go certain places or to achieve certain things. But if you don't have a plan, this is what it's really about. If you don't have a plan to achieve these things, how do you think you're going to achieve them? How do you think realistically you're going to bring them to life? How do you think you have clear goals to accomplish I can't speak, accomplish these particular goals that you want to reach? So like I said, it seems logical when I'm saying it to you right now to write down, 5 goals, may they be big or small, that you want to reach in your life or you've been thinking about. But taking the step to then write down, well, okay, how do you think you're going to reach your particular goal of going to Japan. And then the final step being is that you visualize what those steps are. So closing your eyes, obviously, or you don't have to if you can get away with that. I can't, I find it hard to visualize when my eyes are open because I'm distracted. I think that's logical. Is closing your eyes and then visualizing those things that you've written down, but then visualizing what that looks like. Now, like Mel mentioned in the book, it's not about saying, I want to go to Japan and then you're in Japan. What it's about is there's obviously a sequence of events you need to do to get there. So that be saving money, may that be buying a passport, may that be buying airline tickets, may that be choosing a date, may that be outlining what you're going to do in Japan, may that be what that looks like, what the feelings are around that. I could go on. But I suppose the reasoning behind this is instead of it just being paper dreams when you're just visualizing shit at night when you're daydreaming, or in the day when you're having a shit day and you just like say to yourself, I wish I wasn't here, I was in Japan. What it's really doing is it's cementing what your goals or thoughts or what you wanted to do in your life by not only having them in your mind, but you're basically trying to bring them to life or centering your mind that this is what you want to do. Now, what am I trying to get at? Was that easy? It was easy to write down. The hardest part was, I think for me, was just it actually, by doing this exercise, and by the time you get to this part of the exercise, your mind is just calm and you're focused. So for me, just letting my mind just go where it wants to go, that's the first thing. So without any kind of negative thoughts or feelings or trying to push down or not acknowledge a thought that came into your mind, if it, like for me, I want to buy a Porsche. Now, saying it out loud, you'd be like, Amanda, how are you going to do that? And I'm telling you that there's a sequence of events that has to happen for me to do that. But if I don't write those things down and I don't acknowledge them, then what makes me think that I'm going to be able to buy a Porsche? So, yes, that's what it is. That's what I'm talking about. It's like not just having these thoughts and feelings in your mind, like a mind bubble, but it's then dumping it onto a piece of paper and then visualizing and feeling and acknowledging these are the things that you want to do. That's number one. But number two is then planning what that sequence of events is like for you to reach what you want to achieve. These are not easy things for people who, probably a bit like myself, I've never said to myself, well, I'm not going to do this or not do that. But I am acutely aware that, like most people, you get wrapped up in the minutiae of your life, and you're working or you're not working or whatever, and you really don't take the time to think about what you really want to do with your life. And the reason I think we do that is that it just seems so unachievable and so hard and overwhelming and uncomfortable and weird and scary and, yeah, all of that and all of the above and even more that these little thought bubbles are popping in, little bubbles are popping in my mind to try and describe to you what that feels like. And, for most people right now, you'd know what I'm talking about. What I'm trying to say to you is that really this high, yeah, I'm trying to wrap it up nicely in a nice little bow. The high five habit really is about not only taking the time to center your mind, it is about centering your mind. It is about acknowledging yourself, but it also is allowing yourself, giving yourself permission by really doing this routine every morning, because what it does, it blocks out the bullshit and it really then allows your mind to go, guess what? This, Amanda, you really want to go to Japan? Well, let's talk about it. Let's think about what you need to do to accomplish that goal in your life. Let's not just daydream about it anymore. Let's go. I'm going to Japan next year in May, and this is what I'm going to do to achieve that goal. And by doing this habit every day, it has allowed my mind to really laser focus on that. What it has also done, which I've noticed, is given me a greater sense of purpose in my life. That's the one thing I've noticed. I feel like I have a greater sense of purpose for what I want in my life. The second thing is that it's not only done that, but it's also made me go, it's okay to have that. And it's okay to put yourself first and not to not put others first because, unless you're an asshole. Unless you're an asshole and you don't want to do that and give a shit about no one. What it is doing is it really is laser focus. I'm saying that again because that's really what's coming to my mind. It gives laser focus to really hone in on the stuff that you want to do and that, you're comfortable in doing that. But somehow by doing that, all the other shit that you kind of get caught up with throughout the day seems less. And to me, this isn't rocket science. This isn't new. It's done in a very good package. Thank you, Mel Robbins. It's done in a very good package, but this isn't new shit, all right? It could be enlightened shit, but this is not new shit. When you do stuff like this, you go, yeah, this is normal, this is logical. But for whatever reason, throughout your life, you get so swept up by all the other shit that you drop the ball on the shit that you really want to do. And by taking the time to concentrate on this, which again is very smart when you think about it, in the morning when you've just woken up, is that somehow it, it embeds in your mind. And then what that does, it clears your mind for the rest of the day. So, my feedback throughout this experiment, just for this 1 week, that it's encouraging, that I really have noticed a difference with myself. And I just thought about something as well as part of this exercise every morning. You write a positive mantra and you leave it somewhere that you can see. So every morning when I've done um, the high five. I've done the whole what do you see, what do you smell, etc. Like do the journal is what I'm trying to get at. And then at the end of it, you write a positive mantra or just a mantra, I suppose you want to be negative, you wouldn't, but you write a mantra for yourself and the first thing is just letting your mind be free to like come up with something. So, I'm powerful or I can do this or, they're just two examples, but they come to mind because it's one of those things where letting your mind just go where it wants to go, writing it down, then having it as a visual in front of you, and then every day taking the opportunity to let your mind go there and create a new mantra for himself. And somehow doing that, which again, it's all very logical when you think about it. It's then centering yourself back to yourself to really listen to your real inner monologue. And I have always been, not always, I was going to say I've always been like that. I am easily distracted by my own thoughts and bullshit. Don't get me wrong. But I have always thought of myself who is attuned to what their thoughts and feelings are based on my life experience. What I'm saying to you is this high five habit by Mel Robbins, by the way, is really giving you the tools to laser focus on the shit that you really want to do, to really focus on who you are, to wash away the bullshit of life, to really show you the path that you truly want to be on in your life. That's, a quick summary. And it wasn't quick. That was a brief description of what I think the premise and the idea and the ideal of this book is. Now, you be like Amanda, do you recommend this? uh, yes, I do. I do recommend reading the book, The High Five Habit. I also recommend just based solely on this 1 week, and it's only been 1 week. So I will continue to do this because it is something that I am enjoying, because the main thing it's doing for me is that I feel confident. It's it makes me feel confident. It is giving me a greater sense of confidence in myself, or or giving me the mental acknowledgement that I have that confidence and I have the ability to do A, Y, and Z. And that is something that, one thing I've noticed, but the other thing is I feel calmer is the other thing. So for someone who does deal with a level of anxiety in their life, which most people have in their life, but what I'm saying to you is that I am someone who deals or has an anxiety disorder on some level, that that's the other thing that I've noticed, that I feel calmer. Now, I don't know if that's because I feel happier or I just feel calmer. I just feel clearer. That's probably the best way to describe it. I feel mentally clearer. And for me, mental clarity is something we all could strive for. But certainly, if there's things that you are trying to aim for in your life, mental clarity, very helpful. Is extremely helpful, because then it's going to allow you to then, if you've got to, you know, complete that particular task that you're doing, or, multiple tasks, etc., just being very simplistic here. If your mind is clear and calm, you have the ability to do that better. You just do. So, yeah, I'm feeling it. I will continue doing it. And I thought I'd come back in and talk about briefly, or not briefly, for an hour, talk about it because all I can say to you in retrospect is the week has been positive. The book is positive. The idea is simple, really. I'll be honest with you, but it has tremendous effect in just 1 week. So I'd love to give my feedback now because I'll move forward in relation to this topic. And I'll give you feedback now looking at my calendar. It is now in Australia in a secret location in New South Wales at 2:58 p.m. It is the 2nd of April 2023. I will give you an update of my progression into the high five habit in 4 weeks. So, looking at my calendar, 1, 2, 3. Let's come back on the 30th of April in regards to this particular topic, and I'll give you my thoughts then, and we'll leave it at that. But I am interested to see what my thoughts and feelings around this will be after that time. But all I can say is highly recommend the book, highly recommend the premise behind the book. So far, I've only had a positive experience. It has really opened my eyes to a couple of things, like I said, about actually seeing myself in the mirror. And I know this sounds, and even saying it out loud, it seems bizarre, but not just about seeing yourself in the mirror, but actually seeing yourself. Now, just ponder on that, Yoda style. But that's the first thing. But the second thing, like I said, I've really noticed is that I feel calmer and I feel happier because I'm calmer and I'm more at peace. And I just, even with the shit that's happened throughout the week, and there's been some shit, may I say, it hasn't been all roses and bloody, I don't know, whatever. I was trying to think of things I could compare it to. What I'm saying to you, it hasn't all been a bed of roses. What I'm saying to you, I've had a challenging week and I felt like, bring it on, bitch. Let's go. I'm ready for it. And to have that sense of feeling empowered and that you can conquer the world and you can do what you want to do, it's a good feeling. And yeah, I'm down for it. So if this is the turning point or the key or the switch that I need in my mind to help me progress to the things that I want to do in my life, then fucking I'm all for it, mate. So yeah, that's my that's my thoughts and feelings about the high five habit and the week that was. I mean, we can go over the week if you really want me to talk about it, but who cares? No one does. No, they do. I care. Um, no, the week that was is gone. The week that is moving forward is what the future brings. Let's look ahead. I'm going to continue doing the high five habit. Like I mentioned, I'll check in on the 30th of April. I will continue to do this podcast live every Sunday at 2 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time because I'm feeling it. If you would like to be on my podcast, reach out to me. Contact me via info at the I can't speak. Info at the tequilahour.com.au. If you want to be on my podcast, if you have a subject you'd like to talk about, if you have something to say to me, go ahead. I dare you. Because believe it or not, I know there is many people who listen to my podcast, and there's people who listen to this podcast in America and Australia. and they have never reached out to me. So I don't know what you're waiting for. I don't know what you're afraid of. You can say whatever you like. I can say if I don't like what you have to say, I can tell you to get stuffed. So it's all good. You don't don't be afraid to say whatever you want to say. Your opinion is your own. So like I said, there is people in America who watch this watch listen. People are watching this. I don't have that breakdown as to where those people are located who watch my YouTube's video or my podcast live, but I do have that information via my streaming platforms. And I can tell you right now, there's multiple people who listen to my podcast via, I was going to say audio, I lost my train of thought, who are in Australia and America and have never reached out to me. So if you're one of those people, contact me, email me. Do you want to be on my podcast? Do I want to have people on my podcast? Yes. I am going to set the wheels in motion so that I can have someone on this podcast live with me. Now, I'm going to have to set a date because otherwise I won't hold myself to it, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to have someone on my podcast as well. I'm also going to start reaching out to people who I want to have on my podcast. And yeah, that could be really interesting because there's a particular person, for some reason, there's one person in particular I want to have straight away, but I'm not going to tell you because I'm going to be that kind of person. But yes, I'm going to do that as well. So, like I said, if you want to reach out to me, info@thetequilahour.com.au. Check out my Instagram, AG, what's that? IG, Instagram, the_1_Amanda. I have the Tequila Hour podcast on YouTube and YouTube Music, by the way. And this podcast is also available via your favorite streaming platforms such as Spotify. Hello. Anyway, help me reach my goals, which is to get monetization on my podcast. And for you, you'd be like, why even talking about this? For me, it's not about monetization, actually. It's about just reaching more people. And I've always said if it reaches one person and it changes their life in some way by the things that I talk about, then that's all that I could ask for, honestly. So thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time to watch me. If you are watching this live via YouTube, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya. Bye.